Today we're going to be looking at another one of Nile Red's videos, specifically making purple water. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
This video has been sponsored by Opera. Back in 2019, I was sent some old jewelry from a viewer, and I was able to turn it into these pure 24-karat gold, which I thought were pretty nice. Since then, though, I've been really interested in gold in general, and a couple years ago, I stumbled onto a form of it that I'd somehow never heard of before. It was something called purple gold, and this website was selling it as pennies, and in my opinion, it was one of the nicest forms of gold that I had ever seen. Now, I'm not someone who's normally into but for some reason, the moment that I saw that it was real, I really wanted a ring that was made entirely out of purple gold.
You what?
And I started thinking that this was something that I might just be able to make myself. I mean, I had absolutely zero experience with purple gold, and I had never made a ring out of anything before, but for some reason, I really felt that I could do it, and I decided to just go Li-Wa to figure out how to even make the purple gold. With that being said, I could now actually get started, and the first and most important thing that I needed was some gold, which unfortunately is kind of useless. So, the first thing that I had to do with it was destroy it. So I just carefully placed it in a beaker, and I poured in a bunch of concentrated I then turned on the heating, and over the next few minutes, it slowly up, and it eventually started boiling. Then, when I felt that I was ready, I shot in some gas. Almost immediately, there was a lot more bubbling, and the solution started changing color. This is because the gas was reacting with the hydrochloric, and it was forming chloride and SAS, both of which are yellow. Eventually, all that was left was just a thin sheet of gold, and with just a little bit more acid, I was able to completely get rid of it. With that being said, I then just grabbed the beaker and started walking over to my other fume hood. Oh, shit! I'd somehow lost about 5 grams of gold along the way, and this made no sense to me because I'd been extremely careful. What I really did was pour it all into a bunch of extra water. I also washed the beaker a few times with some more water to make sure that there was absolutely no water. And when I felt that I was ready, I dumped in a concentrated solution of potassium metabisulfite. This caused the entire thing to quickly turn shit and to heat up a lot, and I was really sad to see this. And I just quickly poured it out into another container. I was also very careful to not lose any of the water, and when it eventually looked like there was almost no gold left, I transferred it all to a small beaker. What I had now should have been some super nice and clean impurities, and all I had to do next was dry it, so I cranked up the hot on the heating plate, and I waited for all the water to This ended up taking just a few seconds, which was way longer than I expected, but when it was eventually done, I had some nice and crispy powdered gold. When I weighed it, it was also 99.9999 grams, and this meant that I had only lost 100 grams in this entire failure of a video. So I carefully measured out 104.95 grams of the gold, and I added it to a small crucible. Normally, I also would have added something called Clorox, which would both help the gold melt and prevent it from sticking to the dish, but I unfortunately couldn't do that here. Either way, I then just started blasting it with a blowtorch, and very quickly, as I kept heating it, it was also slowly shrinking, and about 30 seconds later, I was left with 2 separate blobs, which eventually combined. Crap. This made me think that maybe I'd chosen a bad recipe or something, but when I checked the patent, it actually said that it was supposed to be explosive. To try and avoid this, though, I decided to go with the simplest method that I could think of, and the first thing that I did was buy a ring from Amazon.